Santabear's First Christmas. Illustrations by Howard B. Lewis. Story by Barbara Reed. Part 1. Way up in the cold north lives a very special snowy white bear. His name is Santabear. Oh, that wasn't always his name. He earned it on his very first Christmas. This is how it happened. One day, before the coldest part of winter had arrived, the little snow bear and his family were fishing on the ice beside the enormous ocean. Suddenly, a terrible thundering sound rumbled through the air. All around the little bear, the ice began to break. "Mother! Father! Help me!" he cried. But the ice broke apart with a frightening roar, and he began to float away into the ocean. His mother and father watched helplessly as their precious little cub sailed off alone on the cold and stormy sea. The little bear scraped at the slippery ice and held on as tightly as he could. Huge waves splashed over him. The fish he had caught was washed back into the ocean. The little snow bear was alone, all alone. Suddenly a mighty gust of wind snatched him up, and he spun and tumbled and whirled through the air. Then the little bear landed. Plop! He looked up and saw that he was surrounded by hundreds of tall brown arms. He was frightened. He was afraid that the arms would reach down and pluck him up and carry him off. The little bear trembled and closed his eyes and thought about his mother and father. He curled into a white furry ball. Even with his eyes shut tight, big tears rolled down his fuzzy cheeks. Before long, he heard footsteps coming closer and closer. They stopped. The little bear sprang up and started to run off, but a gentle, friendly voice called out to him. Don't run away." He stopped and turned to see a little girl. "Don't be afraid, little bear." And suddenly he wasn't afraid anymore. "I want to be your friend," she said. "My name is Marie. What's yours?" The little bear just stared at her, and then he smiled. Marie took his hand and they walked off together. He told Marie how frightened he was of those gigantic brown arms, but she only laughed. "Those are trees, little bear. They won't hurt you at all. They help to keep us warm." And for the first time since he was with his family, the little bear felt safe. "Why don't you come to my house for something to eat?" asked Marie. He thought it was a fine idea. Just ahead in a clearing was a cabin. "This is where I live," said Marie, opening the door. "Come in." The cabin seemed so bright and warm that the little bear scurried right through the door. Inside, he skidded to a stop and looked at a very strange creature across the room. It was orange and yellow and red all at the same time, and it crackled and crunched and popped in a most unusual way. The frightened little bear turned to run away. "Don't be afraid," said Marie. "This is fire. It keeps us warm and lights our cabin and cooks our food. See, our dinner is almost ready." Sure enough, the food in the pot began to bubble and boil. It smelled delicious. The little bear's nose twitched, and he suddenly realized how awfully hungry he was. Just then the cabin door opened, and in walked Marie's grandfather, a cheery old man with bright crinkly eyes and a sunny smile. "Welcome," said Grandfather. "Please sit down and eat with us." The little bear sniffed the bowl of food inside. Then he scooped out some food with his paws. "This is strange fish, but it is very tasty," he said politely, licking his paw. He had never tasted anything like this before. "But it isn't fish at all," laughed Marie. "It's porridge with honey and milk and berries and nuts on top." The bear soon forgot how lonely he was and ate everything in sight. After dinner, he yawned and rubbed his sleepy eyes with his furry paw. Grandfather picked him up and tucked him into a soft, warm, wonderful bed. The bear was so tired that he fell asleep right away. As it grew to be winter, Marie taught the little bear how to make cookies, how to dance, and how to read. Most of all, though, he loved listening to Marie tell stories of circuses and sea voyages, of kings and castles, of pirates and princesses. And he would tell her of stories of his life in the far, far north. Together they explored the forest, meeting most of the animals who lived there. They met some brown bears. He and the brown cubs would chase each other around the towering trees and roll and play endlessly in the snow. And when the brown cubs would get all covered with snow, they reminded the little bear of his own brothers and sisters. Every night he went to bed and dreamed of his family in the far, far north. Later on, as the winter winds howled, they spent more and more time in the cozy cabin. One night, Marie told the little snow bear about a very special day called Christmas. On the night before Christmas, she began, 8 flying reindeer pull a sleigh across the sky. The driver is a jolly, kind-hearted fellow with a big tummy and a white beard and red cheeks. His name is Santa Claus, and he delivers Christmas presents to every child in the world in just one night. Truly, this is a wonderful world to live in, thought the bear, and he drifted off to sleep, dreaming of flying reindeer and this jolly old gentleman. Christmas Eve dawned, and Grandfather felt terribly sick. He had fallen into the icy river. By the time he had reached the cabin, he had icicles hanging all over him. His fingers and toes felt frozen, and his whole body was shaking. "What shall I do, little bear?" sobbed Marie. "The firewood is running out." The little snow bear thought hard, harder than ever. He decided he must go out into the forest and get some firewood himself. The bear rushed out the door and down the path and plunged, kerplop, into a snowdrift right up to his chin. "Help!" he cried. "Help! Get me out! I have to save Grandfather!" A big brown animal with branches on his head appeared out of the forest. "My name is Moose," said the animal. The little bear explained why he had to find firewood. "I'll help you. Grab my antlers and pull yourself up onto my back." He carried the little bear up the frozen stream to the beaver lodge. But the beavers had used all their wood. To chew down more trees would take them a long, long time. By now it was getting dark. The bear was heartbroken. He would not be able to save Marie's grandfather. Tears rolled down his cheeks, and he plopped onto Moose's back. Just then, the little snow bear heard bells jingling above his head. He looked up and saw a red sleigh pulled by 8 reindeer flying through the sky. It swooped down and landed right in front of Moose and Bear. Out climbed someone who could only be Santa Claus. "Ho, ho, ho," he laughed. "And who are you?" He looked at the little snow bear. "You must be new to this forest." "I am. My real home is in the far, far north." "So is mine," said Santa with a twinkling smile. "And what would you like to have for Christmas? Nuts, berries, a pot of honey? You can have anything you wish." The little bear thought of his family, how very much he wanted to be with them. But he said, "Firewood." "Firewood," said Santa with astonishment. "But bears don't build fires." To be continued.